Okay, I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. This is the big question. You'll have to let me know. Having sound issues. I need you to tell me. Sorry guys, I just have to say, if anyone does hear this, that Facebook has very crude controls for video. There's like no controls. Oh good, we have sound, yay! Hoot hoot! Well, I think the problem was I was trying to go professional with a microphone and Facebook just wasn't having it. All right, yay, we have sound. Woohoo! Houston, we hear you. So nice. Well, welcome everybody. As you come into the chat room, say hi to everyone. I'd love to know. Yeah, I'm glad we can hear each other. I think I had to use the webcam, unfortunately, which was a lot of, that was fun little drama there on step 9 day. Nice to see everyone. Welcome. Zen, Kate, Joyce, Judy, Kristen, Melissa. All right. So good to see you guys. And you guys, this is our first Friday live. Welcome. So nice to see you. I will say right away, by the way, for people who, I said I would embed this on our Serious Joy page, Facebook's not having it. So I'm going to have to do it after the show. I apologize for that. I am learning as I go here. And as I was saying when I got on here, Facebook is, God bless them for their size, but when it comes to video, a little crude. A little crude on this side. I have to say, not much to work with, but it's so nice to see everybody. So nice to see everybody. And if you would introduce yourself, everyone, I'd love your ASL. In the old days, ASL was age, sex, and location, but I would like your age, your sign, and your location. So post your signs and say hello. Introduce yourself to the rest of the club. All right, well, I have a little thing prepared for you guys today. First of all, I wanted to do this video because I want to unite the light and bring our club together and have like a powwow, if you will. But we can't start a day until I do this. It's Friday. It's Fun Day Friday. That's really what you're getting on the Friday Live is that dance. So nice to see you guys. Welcome to Friday. Thank God it is Friday, by the way. Whew. I gotta say, cancer is heavy. There's a lot of emotion to process in cancer. You know, like no matter how spiritually in shape you are, no matter how many spiritual push-ups you have done, cancer always kind of hits me like a marathon, and I have to get back up. So today we're going to talk a little about how to handle some of this stuff. And I'm going to go into a whole bunch of stuff with you guys today. And at the end of this, I'm going to give opportunity to answer questions. So if people want to ask questions in the chat, they can. But please hold your questions off till the end, so I don't miss you and I don't miss your question because I can't really monitor. And I'm definitely a camera eye contact guy. That's just who I am because I've been on camera for so long. So I want to still give people the same conscious meal that you usually get from me on a Friday. So I thought I would start with a little bit of our zodiac weather, talk about what's going on for this week. Today it's really going to be sunny and a bit aggressive. There's a lot of aggressive energy. I myself have been feeling a little short breath, to be honest with you, all day long. And that's kind of where today is. Step 9 rules the day. And the moon is actually heading for Libra. Right now, today, though, it is in the early degrees of Libra, which basically means that we're feeling out of balance. We're slipping and sliding a little bit, trying to find balance. So there's a struggle for emotional balance. And this week really marks the end of us building a new emotional foundation in ourself. And that's what we've been working on in Cancer this whole time, is building emotional foundation. The first week moving into Cancer was really rough, I thought. This week was still a little rough. Still some emotion. And through the weekend, what it looks like we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting the finishing touches on putting in an emotional foundation. And really it's great because it's basically a holiday weekend here in the United States anyways, and so this is a good time to kind of sit back and sort of relax. So today's a step 9 day, and today will feel probably the most off balance. Tomorrow on Saturday is step 10, and we're going to be, at that point tomorrow, you're going to be holding space. Now, if you want to pick a relaxation day, I would say Saturday is the day to relax. It's the day to just chill out and let yourself catch yourself up from the week, and let yourself catch yourself up from your lifetime, because we've all been catching up from a whole lifetime. And then on Sunday, things are going to be really feeling good, I think. The sun will be at step 11 by the midpoint of the day, and the moon will move into Scorpio. So you might feel a little vulnerability on Sunday, but I think Sunday is going to feel really spectacular. So this weekend is really about putting the emotional final touches on what you need as an emotional ground period. And like I said, I had kind of a tough week myself, surprisingly, no matter how much I try to show up. And that's just because there's a lot of energy in Cancer that we don't deal with during the year until we get to Cancer. And that's our feelings about certain things. And I had a lot of feelings catch up with me. Feelings that from experiences actually going back to my illness in November, where some of the stuff from that started to come up. And that brings me to the topic I want to talk about today before we go off into our kind of weekly meeting, if you will. And I think it's time. You know, there's a lot of change going on in a big way. I've mentioned this many times before. We're coming to the end of many cycles and circles. Uranus in Aries is this we've been working on ourselves and building our character, and that story is coming to a completion in 2017. We have Saturn in Sagittarius, which is launching the story you were born to live, and that's coming to completion in 2017. And then the North Node in Leo means that there's a grand trine of fire pretty much operating between these three things. And so we are uniting this character, we're uniting this story with something our heart really wants. And that means it's a powerful time. You know, I have to say, you know, even when I was doing charts, I was doing charts like 7 or 8 years ago, I was telling a lot of clients, like, you're going to have to wait till like 2017. I'm sorry. Like things are just not going to come together until then. We always want it around the corner, but now it's really going to start to come together. So I believe, you know, like many of you here in this club, that I for one was born to help the world in this moment when the world's about to shift. And we've seen a lot of organization over the centuries of the darker entities of life, right? The mafia organizes, you know, like the cartels organize, the super rich all organize and meet on secret islands and stuff. But where is the light organizing? Where are we organizing? Where are we lining up our representation? And I feel like this is what's going to happen as we come into this last leg of the Saturn and Sagittarius. I think it's time for the light to unite. I've been calling on it for a long time. I was surprised last fall when President Trump was elected, because I knew something was going to force people to finally get off their astro and stand up and be counted. I didn't think it would be the election of the president that did that, because after all, George Bush to me was a nightmare, and really people were pretty, you know, lethargic. We didn't have these kind of uproars, and there was still a lot of conservative politics happening then, and we got pulled into a war we didn't want, right? So it was like at that time. So having a president be the one that inspires us to unite surprised me. Didn't see that coming, and that's the way the universe is. And President Trump has Sun conjunct Uranus, so that's the way he is. He's very unpredictable. And that said, I really think he is laying out the red carpet now for the light to unite. I've been doing a lot of readings recently with new clients, and people have been introduced to me and stuff, which is wonderful, because I think whenever I'm introduced to a new client, it's pretty much fated. You know, like I think if you're sent to me, it's like it's definitely a fated thing. And I can see now, for the first time in my life, a lot of God's first aids in power. And what is God's first aid? To me, God's first aid is really the light's response to the earth now. So from what I can tell from my psychic abilities, from all the readings I have been doing, and when I do a reading, I also see into their Akashic, I see into their spiritual mission most of the time. And time again, I see that God has planted these special spiritual aids in special places. In fact, I just did a reading for someone the last couple days, and I was blown away, because this person is a very powerful business executive. She really has her thumb on a very powerful part of the economy. She's tied into very powerful businesses, And when I heard who this powerful person was and that I was going to read them, I actually prejudged her and was like, oh, okay, I'm about to, God's sending me in to tell one of these businessmen the truth. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what I thought, which I'm honored to do, you know, like to give a little nudge towards the light. Well, to my surprise, I look up at her chart and she's completely on a God mission, 100% here for God. And I said to her, just what I told you. I'm like, I kind of prejudged you. I had no idea, but you're really on a mission for God, aren't you? And she just quietly said, yes. Like, she totally knew it, and she was impressed that I knew that. So, and it made me think, you know, God has a lot of these first aids. Now, to me, first aid stands for angel in disguise, because I think that's what it is. I think God sends down pretty much angels, or AIT, which are angels in training. A lot of angels in training. And from what I've witnessed, a lot of these AITs and first aids have progressed in the last 15 years to positions of really potential power. And this opens up for me how the plan is for the light to push the earth forward towards the age of Aquarius. It's not that we're going to picket, you know what I mean, and protest or start a war or have any kind of like major catastrophe, because honestly, that's what human beings have been doing for the last 2,000 years. That was the age of Pisces. It doesn't seem to me that we'd have one last hurrah world war before we finally get it. In fact, to me, that type of thinking is age of Pisces thinking, right? People who are truly here for the age of Aquarius, people who are truly here as first aids, and on the football field, we have no intention whatsoever of allowing the earth going in that direction, right? Like, and so from what I can tell, I'm now starting to see and witness that yes, God's partnerships are now moving into positions of power, and they're simply going to run in their field, and as they make their choices, they're going to choose the light. At least this woman certainly is. When I say choices, I mean kind of like the healthcare bill that's going on right now. It's like, I think it's funny watching the healthcare bill, not because I'm into politics, you know, I'm into politics in the sense of watching them like a stage show. In fact, I think this President Trump is the greatest reality series we ever had. You know, it's like I was working in TV when TV started doing a lot of reality. In fact, that's where I got my start, was in reality. And I could see where this was headed. It was creating a very sixth grade reader level consciousness out there. Suddenly funny jokes are out the window and we're watching somebody's butt and we're watching reactions. And really, we set ourselves up for this reality TV, you know, presidency. But here watching it, what's interesting to me is the healthcare bill, because at first there was the old Republican guard that was like, we're going to be mean, we're going to strip everything out of it, and you know, take away rights from the poor and that sort of thing. And lo and behold, what Republicans found is when they went back to their home states and whatnot, people were pissed. Republicans were pissed. You know, like, so it's been interesting to see, you know, how there really is, despite what people's worries are and fears are, I'm witnessing a lot of changes, you know, and conscious changes where people are really asking the important questions. Even Republican senators are saying, hey, maybe this isn't right. So, you know, change takes time, but I do think it has begun. I do think the changes has begun. And this goes back to my original point here, which is that it's time for the light to unite. Now, in the simplest term, this means it's time for you to identify your angels, okay? We all have angels. In fact, I spoke to my angels this week. I have a sensei, a woman I've been working with since I was 19 years old. She's just tried and true, one of the best souls on the earth, so intelligent, an educator. She's got a master's in education, so she knows how to, like, get the information in, particularly to my stubbornness, you know, like, and anyways, because of all my emotions this week, and that's really why I brought this up, you know, I realized, how do I keep going? I have some key people. I have a bat phone to certain people in my life that are important and that I always go to. And I feel like if we all need to, on one hand, we need to strengthen those bonds now. So, of course, people come and go, particularly as there are emergencies and whatnot. I mean, sometimes even with my sensei, I only get to talk to her when I'm in an emergency. But I've realized It's time for the light to unite, which means it's time for us to check in with our angels on a regular basis. Now, many of you are light walkers. Some of you are light workers. Light workers are people who work at it, like show up for it as a job. Light walkers are people who are just walking in the light. Both are important to the earth, okay? And for those even who are light walkers, many of you live by example, and by being in the light, you'll find that a lot of people who live in their heart are surrounded by people who don't. And people who live in their heart tend to think, oh, that's a tragedy. I don't look at it as a tragedy. I look at that as your assignment. That's your little crop. That's your group of people that you're holding light for. But my point in this, and my point really for Namaste Today Club is, we as the people who are awake, we the people who are listening in our hearts, the people who are walking in the light, we need to strengthen our bonds with each other and hold hands, because if we're going to hold the light in this transition, which I really believe begins maybe next February in 2018, certainly something dramatic by May of 2018, because Uranus goes into Taurus, so like things are going to get heavy and they're going to get real, This particular moment between now and next year is a moment, one last kind of honeymoon moment for everyone to sprout out and do their thing. And really, I think President Trump is giving us the right thing that we need right now. Human beings, I think, actually need hands off. I'm not saying I'm a Republican by policy. I'm saying I'm looking at Earth, and really, I don't think the bureaucracies have done a good job. I don't think corporate America has done a good job. I don't think anyone in power so far has done a good job, okay? And rather than come in and totalitarian and say this is how it is, I think it's actually healthier that you have this hands-off approach, let business do its thing. And that's not because I want to see the oil industries go run off and steal the earth. It's because I want to see our industry, the lightworker industry, come together, get strong, and climb in this moment of, no interference, basically. This hands-off sort of approach. So I was just going to say that for this next week, this week was a week of coming into our emotional foundation. I would say I'm not even there yet. Today I'm like, no matter how I look, I had to struggle to get here today. Like, it was just like every little mile kind of thing. And I think as we move forward now in the next 2 weeks and through the holiday, we are going to be building our emotional security. So we built a platform, and now we're going to build our security. And in this upcoming holiday week, I invite you to connect to your fellow lightwalkers, to identify the angels in your life, the people who serve and hold light for you. For those who are light workers, many of us sponsor a lot of souls. I know I sponsor a lot of souls personally, and of course I sponsor souls right here on camera. But before you get out to your sponsees, it's time for the teachers in the Teachers Lounge to all kind of network and start to create our union. And that was an insight that I received from my experience of talking to my sensei, and also in meditation this week as well. It came up. God was basically like, it's time to tell the kids to come together. So that message is out. Keep your eyes open for God's first aid. There's a lot of angels out there, For every bad guy there is in the world, so to speak, it's been my experience, there was an angel in disguise right behind them. When I've met bad people, I've looked around the room, and there was one of God's people watching that person. You know what I mean? Like, don't think God's Secret Service is not on top of it. It is. Okay, so I want to say that because after we unite, there's other levels to unite to as the light comes together. And this is how I see things coming for the coming year. So, nice to see everyone. Yeah, some kids did come for the pre-wired change. I'm looking at some comments here. All right. Yeah, I'm having a little short breath for some reason. Don't know why. No particular, maybe because I'm live. But actually I was feeling this way before I went on camera. Like I said, Cancer and step 9, Mars and Cancer, whew, I usually need to get on the treadmill because I'm such a little hamster anyways. If I don't have an outlet for that energy, I do like 4 to 5 readings in a day because I have the energy for it. Like, if the energy doesn't get a positive outlet, then it becomes a problem. So I will calm down. I'm just in wonderful shape, everyone, so don't worry about me. So I want to make some announcements. First of all, I've decided to take this next week off. So what that means is that I won't have the shows up during the week. Now, okay, I think we're back. Yeah, all right. It said it went off there for a second. Ironic. Can you guys hear me? Send me a text, somebody. It went off for the air for a second. So, anyways, what I was saying is I'm going to take next week off, and actually I'm going to connect to my angels and to the people that I love during next week. And I myself need a little bit of a break. I've been going like crazy this entire year, for a whole year since I was sick, actually, trying to catch up and then trying to move forward and then back and forth from Denver to Orange County. In fact, I've actually decided, for those who keep asking, that I'm going to stay in Orange County for a while. I realized with the North, as soon as the North Node went into Leo, my heart just lit up, and I was like, you know, my heart just loves Southern California. That's where I really have draw most of my energy from nature and from people and from the weather. So it's been a difficult year, and this next week I'm going to kind of chill. I recommend everyone else does too, by the way, that you chill in this next week, because it's a good week to really build that emotional security blanket that I was talking about earlier. You know, I have the video live, but I don't see any chat. Oh no, we have new chats coming in. Okay. I see. It doesn't scroll up on its own. Okay, learning here. Love you too. Okay, so what that means though is for Serious Joy subscribers, you will get a full week of content, and for people who haven't tried Serious Joy, please do. I rebuilt it. It's really awesome. I do a lot of content. Every day you get a pep talk. You can try it for a month. And by the way, you can sign up and cancel right away if you don't want to keep it after a month. But at least try for a month and see. And this gets you in our database. We can reach out to you and we can put you in the network. So I'll be off next week. I won't have a Friday Live next Friday either. I'm going to take the week off. I'm actually going to be building new features in Serious Joy, so I'm not fully getting a week off really. And I'll be doing a few readings too. But the shows take a lot of energy if you obviously know. So just not having to show up and come up with original content for a week is like, whew, it's a total blessing for me. But I do what I call a daily pep talk every morning in Serious Joy. So I pep talk my Serious Joiners. And I know we have some issues. I'll just say with Serious Joiners, where you have two step numbers in 2 days in a row. That's because it's still the same step number. In the summertime, the Earth starts slowing down. And as the Earth slows down in the summertime, we actually have more than a day with a step. And that's literally why in the summer and then in the winter, things feel slow. The Earth is literally moving slower. But as the Earth moves to the edge of its elliptical orbit, which is spring and fall, the Earth speeds up again. And so we have a period in the spring and fall where we're doing we have less than a step a day. So it'll turn a new step in less than 24 hours. So it's a weird anomaly. Serious Joy's software checks the planets every 2 minutes, so it's 100% accurate. And so what I'm doing for this is, because people want to know the step that's going to change later, I'm going to report the step number change through the day now. And I'm very excited to say we have a new feature coming out here probably in a week where you will be able to click a day ahead and see tomorrow's content, and you'll be able to click a day before and see yesterday's content. So you'll be able to see a 3-day window now here in about a week, and that's another thing we're kind of prepping for, is I got to get ahead in the content long enough for Australia and everyone else. So nice to see everybody. I would love to be in a retreat too. It'd be really great. And speaking of that, let's do a little shout outs for some people. I want to say thank you to some people. For one, I got some birthday cards in from Joyce Sweeney and Julie Rebensdorf. I don't know how to pronounce your name, Julie. Thank you very much for the birthday cards. I'm very grateful that you made it to me. I also received a very special gift. I'm going to have better lighting next week, from Pamela Wilson. Pamela Wilson, who's I see in the chat. And I'll be back. Don't worry, my family lives in Colorado. It's my home base, but I'm out here. But look what I got in the mail, guys. You probably saw this. This wonderful portrait of me. This was, I think, the card, she said. Or no, this was the painting, and then the card got matted. and this, which is just beautiful, and spooky of me. And I'll tell you, Pamela, I'm so grateful for your gifts. I mean, completely humbled, to be honest with you. I've never even had anything like that happen for me before. But I will say, I really think you captured my light in these. Like, the joy I know my smile gives comes through in this work, and it's awesome because I'm going to frame it and put it in my office here in Tustin, California, Tustin, Irvine. So thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for your gifts. Thank you for your birthday comments, and thank you for showing up. I'm so grateful to be of soul service. I feel like a one-man band here. Yeah, I'm still having breathing issues. So that said, you know, I want to unite the light here in the club, and I want to say thank you to all the people who have been posting cool stuff in the club. Like I have learned a lot from the things you've been posting. One of the things that I could not, I mean, did you guys see that article about women absorbing the DNA of the men they slept with? Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but boy, did that blow my mind. Like, it just opened the door of thinking, and it opened the door of thinking for me too, of like, huh, there's a lot we haven't thought about. I myself believe that when you sleep with someone intimately, your souls do connect. There's a spiritual umbilical cord there. So I'd always felt that you stay tied to the people you have sex with to some degree, unless you do some sort of clearing and whatnot. So this was like the possibility that there's physical evidence for that as well. And I believe that's the way God works. Whatever happens spiritually, there's some sort of physical also that can be measured. So science and spirit both get equal power in my mind, and they both represent the same way. But I want to say thank you to everyone who shares their gifts, and I want to remind you to share your gifts. This is definitely the club for you to share what you do, to share your business, to share your talents. I want to say, by the way, thank you to Christopher Adam Strickland, who has been consistently giving us card readings every day. That's so sweet. And I think that we all need to just go ahead and share. In 2 weeks, I'll be back on Facebook Live here. I'm going to take next Friday off. And when I come back, I want to do show and tell. You guys remember show and tell? So from right here, I don't know if this can happen from this actual browser. Oh, I see. Invite friends. I see. You can invite friends on here. So apparently we can invite. I don't know if we're inviting friends. We have to play with this, but I know we can bring people on camera. I might have to shoot it on my phone instead of on my webcam. But I want to invite people in 2 weeks. If you have a business or you have a practice, if you're a light worker and you have something to sell, like let's do show and tell in 2 weeks. Come on camera with me and tell me what it is you're doing. I think it's super important that we all are aware of what each other are doing. And I think a lot of times too, people have told me, clients have told me that when we did the last show and tell, they were inspired to move forward with what they were doing. So it's fun. I like show and tell. And you can show and tell something else too. It doesn't have to be your own business. You can show and tell something remarkable you learned or anything you want. It's show and tell. So we'll do show and tell in 2 weeks on our Facebook Live. All right. Okay, cool. Looks like I noticed when I watched the video on the site, there's a lag, but I noticed that the chat is live. So that's good. So we'll do show and tell in 2 weeks. And then I want to announce a contest. I'm going to hold a contest. I think this would be really fun. I thought of this in meditation, and I think it'd be fun for our group. I want to hold a Serious Joy selfie contest. Okay? A Serious Joy selfie contest, which means you take a picture that represents you in serious joy. That could be you in the hot tub. Okay, like it can be you on a mountain. It can be you with your cat. It can be you with your kids. You know, like. But the point is like trying to capture your light on camera. Try to capture that moment of serious joy on camera, and post it in our group. Okay. And what I'm going to do is everyone go in there and people should like the ones they like. So we're going to do this by basically judging by likes and the number of likes. And really, I think if you like several, you should like the several that you like. Don't hold off to wait every picture and just vote once. I think people should vote as much as they feel like they like it. And if we end up with a tie, we'll figure out how to do that. But the winner will win 3 free months of Serious Joy subscription. So we'll give out 3 months of Serious Joy. And if you are a Serious Joy subscriber and your Serious Joy selfie wins, you will win a free hour reading with me. Okay, so I'll give away a free hour reading to a subscriber wins. I'll give 3 months of Serious Joy to a non-subscriber. Post your Serious Joy pictures this next week, particularly while I'm off, and this will give us a fun experience to share our holiday or share our family or share ourselves through the week and kind of like have something interesting to look at during a holiday period, right? So fun stuff there. So Serious Joy selfie contest. Now that said, I want to point out two remarkable people that help us out. You probably know these people. Jill Muffler is she's our ambassador of goodwill here at Serious Joy. She's a volunteer in Denver, Colorado. Because she lives next to my mom and brother, I had the opportunity of actually seeing her in person a lot, which is awesome. And Jill, if you haven't noticed, is ridiculously helpful around the club and has the answers a lot of times for what's going on with me. And I also want to introduce, if you don't know, Troy, and you know what? I'm worried about getting Troy's name wrong. Troy McAvoy. I've never seen your last name before, Troy. McAvoy? I don't know, you have to pronounce it for us. But Troy now is working for us at Serious Joy Support, so you can put a face to a name, and we're really grateful to be working with Troy. He started as a viewer, and he's just been a diehard fan and a wonderful soul. So is Jill. In fact, they're actually our son. He's the son of Jill, if you don't know. So, you know, they come from the same star, but both of these wonderful lights are here to help. And Troy is now empowered with the service, so he can really tell you what's going on and when. And thank you, Troy, for posting about this show and when it was going to go live. I appreciate that. He did that without even being asked. That's amazing. All right, so that said, I wanted to open up the floor to questions. A lot of people have had a lot of questions for me, and maybe you don't have a question now, and if that's the case, I'm just going to stretch this time. But I want to have a little interaction, and if anyone wanted me to bring them up on camera, I'd be happy to do that with you. But I wanted to open up and see what's up with the audience. So does anyone have a question that they want me to dive into? There was a question I was going to answer earlier. Can't remember what it is. It'll come back to me. How tall am I? I'm 5'9½". How tall do I look on camera? 6'2". Yeah, I've been out here shooting with Bella. A lot of people. Oh, Damon Perry's here. Hey, Damon. Damon, actually, I was going to invite you on camera, brother, to come talk about your absorbable vitamins. Damon has absorbable vitamins that he's gone through the science and found the people that actually can digest, actually pass and absorb the vitamin stuff. So that's what I mean by show and tell. There's a lot of people in our group that do a lot of interesting things that we don't know about it. Oh, okay, Saturn. Okay, Courtney Edwards asks, can I speak on the Saturn and Sag generation going through their Saturn return, 1988? Very interesting. That's a great thing. Okay, Courtney. Well, Saturn and Sagittarius, first of all, is an exciting thing. In fact, to me, Saturn and Sagittarius really is the indicator of when the light is going to move or not move. Because Sagittarius is human culture. It's the collective consciousness. It's everything we've known, it's everything we've done, and it's everything we will do. That's Sagittarius. So in the human consciousness, it's the most dense consciousness we have, our knowledge and wisdom. People who have Saturn in Sagittarius are people who came to be authorities of that knowledge. And now that you all are coming into your Saturn return, as Saturn has returned to Sagittarius, you are now done cooking. The universe has reminded you of all the past life memories that you need to know to set you into motion. And what's fascinating about this, and I'm glad you asked this question, Courtney, because this is God sending out the light workers, sending out the special aids. Like, this is the generation, and they were born, of course, when Saturn was in Sagittarius the last time. The last time Saturn was in Sagittarius was the mid-'80s. I think 87 is when it left. So it was like 85 to 87, maybe, something like that. It goes in and out of signs. I do know that Oprah Winfrey went on the air for the first time when Saturn was at step 4 Sagittarius. So it's like I saw the light break out in that last wave with Oprah, with the Celestine Prophecy, which was like a huge bestseller back then. Like, And I imagine a lot of the people who ended up publishing, like The Secret, some of these huge books that really pushed our industry forward, they probably all were inspired in the Saturn Sagittarius last time, and they published in the 90s and early 2000s. So now that we're back in Saturn Sagittarius, this is the second wave of that light. And you have the kids that grew up watching Oprah, you know what I mean, like, basically, and you have the people who grew up reading these books, and you have the people who grew up in this environment in itself, and they now are coming into their power, and they now are going into their fields of work. So to me, this Saturn and Sag is the official seriousness, Saturn, of the light and human consciousness and our story. The Saturn and Sag people, basically, like on a personal level, it's time to decide what you believe. Your Saturn return for you guys is, what do you believe? Decide. And I would imagine that what you believe goes against with what we're being told. I would imagine that whatever you believe, a lot of people won't like. You know what I mean? Like, particularly the ones you grew up around. So your personal responsibility in this lifetime is to be true to your beliefs, and your beliefs come from your heart, not from evidence. They do come from experience, but they don't come from tangible evidence. Belief comes from the heart and from our experiences. So it's time for you to decide what you believe, and it's time for you to go out there and live by it. Many Saturn and Sagittarius people are literally teachers. So I hope that helps. I love Bella too. What do I think about CERN? I'm not sure what CERN is, Melissa. I'm sorry that I don't know what that is. It's because I live in a cloud. Sally Ann Massa asks, progressed charts, is there any reason to tune into your progressed sign for daily guidance? I don't think progressions are good for daily guidance per se, because I think they're more of a better for a reminder. I'll give you an example. Like, I've noticed, and I've said this in a couple shows, I've noticed that I have been getting more and more and more sensitive in the last couple of years, like just feeling like a total baby. And I went to my progressed chart, and I'll be damned, in the last 2 years I turned into a Cancer. I'm a progressed Cancer. So as far as my moods and my astrology, my own service is dead on using my own date of birth. Like, I don't use the progressions in my service. And I found that regardless of my progression, I'm still living true to the classic astrology every day. But on a bigger scale, on a wider scale, it helps me to understand some of the changes in the road, particularly being so sensitive. Like you said, I was kind of short of breath just earlier. Like, that's an example of how I get sensitive now. I'm like, you know, like, and I think I'm just learning to deal with it. Today, I became a step 1 Cancer this year. I was a step 0 last year. And boy, right around my birthday too. I don't know if it's because I believe in step astrology so much, but like, as soon as the step changed, whew, the sensitivity went up. Like, it went from 0 to 1. It was intense. Is it going to be better for Cancer moons? Well, Starshine, are you going to be better to your Cancer moon? I think the reason why it's hard for Cancer moons is because you are responding to other people and not yourself. You know, and yes, you're excellent at responding to other people, and you're excellent at nurturing other people. But if you don't have your own emotional shift together, if you're not nurturing yourself and putting your feelings first all the time, you're a hot mess. You're a hot mess. But I love Cancer moons. I tell you, anytime I see a Cancer moon in a chart, I want to hug them. Like, I'm like, oh, you know, right away. And that's one of the powers of astrology. Yes. No, Amparo, yes. So Amparo, pardon me if I ever pronounce things incorrectly, she writes, you've been talking about the Great American Solar Eclipse. Was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the eclipse. Seems to be a huge deal, but not sure if you wanted to answer this type of question. Yes, I'm here to answer all questions today, at least especially today, because I'm really backlogged on your questions. A lot of people actually have emailed me on my Facebook profile. I try to get back to people, but guys, I don't want to hire someone to answer my emails. I think that's kind of cold. So as a result, they sit there for a long time. No, I haven't, Caitlin. I haven't made it out to the mountains yet. So The Great American Eclipse. This is a huge eclipse. It's funny, I even see news media covering this. All the astrologers are talking about it. It's a very powerful eclipse. For one, it's hitting the United States, so it's observable in the United States. So just remember, back in the old days, when we were like villagers, living in tribes, an eclipse was a big deal. The fact that the sun would go away and come back made people think, for people who didn't have a good witch doctor or a learned Indian chief, that could tell them that this was natural, holy shit, the sky is going dark. So it had a powerful psychological impression on the population. And for those of us who know about it, even when they observe an eclipse, it's like, wow, it's hard for you to believe that the sun can be blocked out, right? It's very kind of cartoonish. So I think part of the reason why this is they call it the Great American Eclipse, is because it's going to be observed in America. It's going to happen during the daytime in America. America is obviously in turmoil. America is allegedly the free leader of the world. We always call ourselves that, but we do have at least everyone's eyeballs from our television, right? Everyone's watching us. And so the fact that it's hitting America at such a sensitive time is pretty interesting and powerful. It's making us pay attention. What it means on a spiritual level is that it's the birth of something your heart wants. So the solar eclipse will be at step 28 Leo, and step 28 is the grandmaster step of manifestation. So that means that the universe is going to put a powerful, it's almost like a reboot, because the light goes off and it goes on again. You know what I mean? It's the sun and moon coming together at an exact degree. It means our heart and our feelings come together on something. And so for everyone, this is going to be us falling in love with something. We might fall in love with a car. You might fall in love with a house. Probably won't be a car, but it could be. If you were 21 years old, the solar eclipse could be that you finally get your first convertible. That'd be like, oh my God. And it has to do with what brings you serious joy. And what I've been doing with you guys all year has been preparing you and kneading you and working on you to get ready to accept that great intention of love. Now, the eclipse is also going to powerfully trine into Uranus and Saturn and the galactic center. So I was talking earlier about how we have these changes. It's bringing the light onto the stage. And on our personal stories, this solar eclipse will unite that light. So the story you were born to live, represented by Saturn and Sagittarius, the person you are meant to become in that story, so who the character is in the story and what the story is, but who the character is, Uranus in Aries, also at step 28, I believe, at that time, which is amazing, the same step as the eclipse, so it's exact. And then the solar eclipse, which will be at step 28 Leo, this high vision of what our heart wants. It's a big deal also because you don't usually see this much fire. In fact, I was talking to my friend David Palmer not too long ago. Shout out to David. He recently got married. Congratulations to him on that. And, he was pointing out to me, and he's right, I hadn't thought about it, which is why I love David. He brings up stuff I haven't had time to think about because he's got his own passions. But he was saying this is the last of the fire. We've had a lot of fire trying to inspire us. During the election last year, we had a lot of grand trines in fire because these outer planets were in these fire signs. Fire is inspiration. Fire is divine inspiration. Fire is the light. Okay? So this is the last big, huge investment of fire, this Great American Solar Eclipse on August 21st, the last big, big fire before things get very real and earthy. And that's when Uranus moves into Taurus and Saturn moves into Capricorn. So we're going to get very real, very earthy, very much into the details. And I think that it's not catastrophe. I think a lot of light workers and light walkers are going to be using this Great American Eclipse as their launch. I know for myself, even with my business and everything, I'm still working on it. I'm still not quite there. And I actually, just the way things are lining up, it looks like I'll finally have everything together by the end of August. So it's like, hallelujah, hallelujah, right? So let's see. Some things I can't, oops. Yeah, it doesn't let me, so some comments have gone by, folks, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's not letting me go back. Green clearing. Okay, cool. What to expect with Saturn return for Capricorns and Pluto there? Well, Jamar has asked about Saturn return for Capricorns and Pluto in Capricorn. Actually, it's total synchronicity here, Jamar, because it kind of brings us to what happens next. After this great American eclipse, we have another 6 months of pursuing the light, pursuing our heart, pursuing what our dreams want, okay, till the end of the year. Saturn goes into Capricorn, I think December 21st, if I'm not mistaken. And at that point, things get really serious because Saturn is the serious planet. It rules Capricorn, so shift gets serious. Now, what does that mean in the world front? I don't know. It'll probably be something that gets serious. You know, it could be a conflict. It could be a lot of things. Given the current presidency, who knows? But I do think that we're in God's hands. I really think that we're not going to see that catastrophe, like I said. When Saturn moves into Capricorn, things start changing really fast. So when Saturn goes into its home sign, decisions get executed quickly. Things that we've sat on forever, like I don't know if we should build this dam. I don't know if we should go into North Korea. You know, I don't know if we should. Suddenly, we're just able to make decisions. For people who have Saturn in Capricorn, that it's kind of like the same thing I gave to people Saturn and Sag. It's like your generation who's come to make the right decision. Some of you will make the wrong decision, Saturn Capricorns, because you're here to play the role and learn that you were wrong. Okay, like some of you will make the right decisions. What differentiates a wrong from a right decision? The answer is, are you asking your feelings? Are you asking your heart before you decide? If you're not consulting your feelings and your heart, you're making the wrong decision. End of story. So your generation is really the generation that's here to make changes. And the Pluto and Capricorn kids, the kids who were born with Pluto and Capricorn, which started 2009 and is still moving forward, these are actually the soldiers that are going to inevitably inherit control of the earth. And that's because they're going to grow up watching it reinvent itself. And so they're going to understand where it was, where it's going, and that sort of thing. With Saturn, when Saturn conjuncts Pluto, I'm expecting some major shift to happen. In fact, I'm expecting probably 4 degrees before Saturn hits Pluto. That's what I call a step differential, by the way. They call it an orb, but I look at the orb as a step number. That's one of the things I teach in step astrology. So when we have step 4 differential, we'll probably have some sort of major power shift. And that power shift could be countries leaving the EU and the United States having a constitutional crisis where suddenly maybe we're offering an amendment, you know, something very serious. It said that the eclipse path really affects this area it hits. Oh yeah, I think Melissa Lafara is asking about the eclipse pattern affecting the area it hits. I think that's true. Again, like wherever the natives see the sun go dark, that's a psychological shift in their story. So if you're a witness to the sun going dark, ooga booga, then you are going to be affected, right? Anyone who can see the light go dark and come light again. People who are sleeping during it on the other side of the earth, they all have subconscious shifts. So when the eclipse happens and you're awake, you're going to have conscious shifts. When the eclipse happens and you're asleep, you're going to have subconscious shifts. And I notice how basically God works on the earth pretty much on an equal basis. It'll go hit Europe in the day, then go hit United States in the day, then go hit Europe in the day, and each of us take kind of a turn that way. It almost always happens that way. Oh yeah, so I'm reading through the comments here. Melissa asked about the eclipse being on Trump's ascendant. Okay, that's a good question, Melissa. I keep saying this again, like looking at the astrology, going all the way back to the presidency and the election, time and time again, Trump has had it in his favor. You know, I thought Hillary had it in her favor until I started to look at the deeper stuff because I thought the sun was in Scorpio or whatever. But all the events we've had since his presidency have helped him, including the North Node moving into Leo. I think for him, it means it'll be a new depth. That's why I'm concerned about a world conflict, to be honest with you. Because it's actually, one of the reasons is it's hitting him on his ascendant. Now, I don't think he's going to pick a fight with someone who doesn't doesn't deserve a fight or whatever, and I'm not even going to get into the politics of who to fight or whatever. But I do think that it's going to make Donald Trump feel incredibly strong and confident, as if he wasn't already. But something is going to give him a boost of confidence, and something is going to probably happen around the eclipse that marks his presidency. So it's like Obama's mark was pretty much Obamacare, from what I can tell. Like, George Bush's was 9/11. That marked his presidency. Bill Clinton's presidency was marked by fellatio in the White House. I feel like, sorry, Bill, get your priorities in order. George Bush, Senior was like, no new taxes, read my lips. So I think it's probably going to be something that marks his presidency, marks his character forever. And I do believe that Trump believes in God, and I do believe he fears his creator. So don't worry. Oh, yes. With David, yes. Hey, Cameron. I'm just saying hi to people. Have I ever seen my spirit man or an angel, says Monique Lewis. No, seen? No, I've never seen visually. I've never had a visual of my spirit. Well, that's not true. Never in life had a visual of my spirit guides. I did have I've had some amazing experiences when I was working with the angels. And I was working with a particular angel reader who I'm very close to. And we went into some meditations, and I shit you not, I had the classic angel vision, but it was completely in my third eye, and it was completely real. And what blew me away about it was I was in a guided meditation with her, and she was seeing the same thing I was seeing. She's like, do you see that? Do you see that? And I had just seen it. So I've had a vision on that level. But I haven't had like a ghost appear and then take off. But I actually have, I have witnessed many earth angels. Like I have been sent in, I've been directly in front of some of God's first aides, actual angels who incarnate as human. And there are many actual angels who incarnate as human, and they work in the strangest places. And you just know because you look in their eyes. The only way you know is you look in their eyes. There's just this like something that happens. It's like, oh, like you literally hear a choir. Like it's a weird moment, and there's almost like a ding, like a little like sparkle in their eye, And I had a surgeon that worked on me in Encino, California, when I was really ill another time, and as he bent over to say everything's gonna be fine, like I had an angelic moment with him, and I believed it. So Zen is asking if I feel the light workers and light walkers are in a physical, safe place intuitively in the next 2 years. You mean physical, safe place, Zen, as in like on the earth where you are, where bad things could happen on the earth? You have to kind of let me know. But I'll say that I am seeing God's work like I have never seen God's work before. I just want to say that. And I'm learning to talk more about God. The truth is I don't talk about God a lot because I'm still in awe. And I'm getting my head around it. But there are people who are in the light are blessed. Period. I see it over and over and over again, where they don't go through the turmoil other people go through. They don't have their house destroyed. It's kind of funny. There's this old, what do you call it? Like public, when you have it like a public myth, I can't remember what they call those, urban legends or something. But there's an urban legend here in Los Angeles during the Malibu fires. And you guys remember the Malibu fires, but the Malibu fires like burned all these mansions down in Malibu at one point. The urban myth was that it burned every house down on the block except Barbra Streisand's. Like seriously, like apparently some whole mansion block was burned down, but Barbara's. And that reminds me of an old Simpsons episode where Flanders' house is on fire and God brings clouds over it and starts raining. I don't think anyone who's in their heart is in any danger. Period. I think that's the way it's built. So if you are in a dangerous place on Earth, you will get the call. You will feel like you have to go. One of the reasons why I've set up my home base in Denver is because if shift hits a fan, that's where I'm going. Like, you know what I mean? Because California is definitely rocking and rolling on its access. But I do know in my heart, and I do feel in every case I know, when you're in your heart and you live in the light, God swoops in and saves your butt right at the last minute. Taurus persistence. I didn't miss that. Kristen is asking about thoughts on Saturn near the galactic center. Yeah, that's a very good question, Kristen. I actually think that, all right, so each generation has a reason why they come together. We're a soul family. We always incarnate together, if you don't know. And I think while a third of the generation is asleep and reincarnating, there's always a generation on the planet who's incarnating together. So we're kind of like high school classes. We go in and out of consciousness together. We haven't had our event yet that we were born to live. We haven't had it. Our parents are part of our generation, like the hippies, the baby boomers. They haven't had theirs either. The last event was Hitler and World War II. That was the last world event. That whole generation came for that atrocity. They came to work through it. They came to do it. They came to fight good versus evil. Pluto was in Cancer. They learned to become more compassionate, more aware of their emotions. That was their shared lesson together. I think our shared lesson together is Pluto in Capricorn, which is the exact opposite of Cancer. And I think it's interesting. I haven't gone back in time, but I think Pluto pretty much defines what a generation is. It's the slowest moving planet. So what we've signed up to live is the response to World War II. The response to World War II is now that Pluto is 180 degrees from where it was in World War II and the beginnings of World War II. And I think the story we were born to live deals with the response. That said, Pluto and Capricorn being really the buildup of whatever this event is, Saturn crossing the galactic center is showtime. Something will happen at that moment that will start this fire. I don't think it's a world war. I think that was Pluto and Cancer. I think the reason why we think it'll be a war is because of Pluto and Cancer. It's still in our cellular memory. But I think it'll be something profound, something absolutely profound, something mouth-dropping like, and it could be that we have another constitutional convention. It might be that but it's the beginning of huge change. In your personal life, Saturn crossing the galactic center means, I think at this point, particularly people who are of age to watch this now, this is the moment you were born to live. So as this fall moves forward, you're going to be pulled closer and closer to the reason why you were born. When I say reason why you're born, I mean up in heaven, we look down and go, what do I want to do on Earth? What would be fun? You know what I mean? And I think we all look at the galactic map and we all say, oh, wow, Earth is going to have this huge crazy thing happen, in the year 2022. I want to be alive for that. I think I would be great for that. I want to be a part of that. And so and when I do, I want to be a steel worker or something. So we're being pulled into that alignment right now. And, not everybody is meant to be on top of a mountain, when things go down. There are many people in World War II who were here at home, not fighting, supporting the troops. People taking care of the kids. People helping out with the orphan children from all the fathers that were dying. There's a lot of light work to be done. You don't have to necessarily be in the thick of battle either. But whatever you find yourself this fall, a year from when President Trump was elected, will be pretty interesting. Good to see Alma here. Hi, Alma. Hi, Diana. Cindy shares that she's had very vivid dreams the last 2 weeks. Me too, Cindy. I don't usually remember all my dreams. I go through phases, but I have been having, and I have weird dreams. My guides will teach me stuff. I'll wake up saying 2 + 2 is the same as an 8, weird stuff like that, like just weird step number stuff. But I've had a lot of dreams that kind of signifies that my story is ending. In fact, I'll just share since it came up. I had a dream that I left my ex-wife, and I kicked her out of my house. And it was the opposite in our life. Like, she told me to go. She didn't want to be married to me anymore, which is fine, fine. But in the dreams, I've been always dealing with the fact that I got kicked out. In this dream, which happened the last couple weeks, I was kicking her out. And I woke up thinking, boy, was I too mean? Like, I didn't mean to be so mean. What's that mean? But I realized psychologically it means, you come full circle, grasshopper. You know, like, good stuff. Oh, Tracy says she hugged Jesus. That's awesome. I have, I guess I'll tell the story. I have had Jesus come to me. I'll be honest. It's not something I say a lot, but I will say it. I mean, if you have a Jesus experience, you just have to have it. Don't expect to believe anybody who has theirs. You know what I mean? Like, I don't expect anyone to believe me, but I will share that I had a Jesus experience after I prayed, like, with my whole heart for some answers. I was in a very hard spot karmically, not physically, but karmically, relationships and people, and I didn't know who to trust or where to go. And I was feeling stretched, I was feeling scared, and I was really at a point where I was breaking down. And so I prayed to God, not Jesus. I love Jesus. My name is Christopher. Like, so I've definitely done this in the past, but I prayed to him, to God, really hard after I chanted. Nope, wrong office, 218.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
So there you go. I'm live in my office. Anyway, so I prayed, and I went to lunch to the mall to go to the food court and go to lunch. And I remember how sad I was. So I had my sunglasses on in the mall, and then suddenly in this vision, again, this third eye vision just opened up while I was like eating a burrito. So typical. And it was a vision of Christ, and he put his hand on my shoulder, and he basically said, it's going to be okay. And as soon as he touched my shoulder, this physical sensation just overwhelmed me, like a heat wave of goosebumps, like, went down my whole body, and I spontaneously started bawling. I just started bawling right there in the mall. And that experience was so real, and I think whatever he did, he just released me from that pain, which is what I've heard he does when he shows up. Christ is very much in the ER business. If Christ was working as a man on earth today, he'd probably be like an ambulance driver. He definitely energetically really helps those who are most suffering. And I'm proud to say I had that moment, and I believe it. I have no doubts. I mean, how do you even make that shit up? You know, it's one of those moments that made me a believer. I've also seen Master Buddha too, but that's another story. Yes, that's right. Carolyn Legowski, which looks like Lego, like a Polish Lego, Legoski. I love Legos, and I'm Polish. She says, me and Dorian Virtue are now talking about God. In the past, you couldn't mention God. Had to be more general name like the universe. That's absolutely true. I am finding that my own personal relationship with God, and I brought this up a little earlier, is really, truly expanding. If people wonder what's going on with Techie's private life, I'm discovering a stronger relationship to God, believe it or not, and one that's not defined by Christianity or anything, defined by our own little experiences together. When does my relationship grow with God? Whenever I pay attention and talk to him. Like, I personally think that you should use the gender that makes you feel good. I have father issues, so having God as a male for me feels really good. It's whatever feels good you should present as. But yeah, it's true. I'm very empathic, and when I went on the air, my guides were like, don't talk about God. Like, everyone was so damaged, and this was 11 years ago, but everyone was so damaged about God. A lot of people have Chiron and Pisces, particularly my viewers, which means you've been hurt by the church in a past life. You've been hurt by the notion of God. You've been hurt by someone who called himself in the name of God. So there's a lot of wounds that our population has experienced that needed to be healed, frankly, before we can bring up the G word. But on a private level, I mean, in the last 2 weeks, yeah, I mean, And I feel like he's asking me to start bringing him up now. Like, that's the other thing. I'm definitely getting, I'm being told to start bringing God into the equation because it's a very, very important, actually, it's the most important thing there is. Like, this whole experience comes from that. We're also damaged and afraid of talking about God because of these religions, all right? And because of these religions, we're afraid of talking about God, we're afraid of talking about the possibility of God. You know what? I will also say one thing that has recently reaffirmed my belief in God was this show on E! Entertainment about this young medium named Tyler Henry. I don't know if you guys have seen this kid. He's like 21. He's my son's age. And he channels the dead like I have never seen before. And they do these interviews where he does a reading for a celebrity that he often doesn't know who it is. And you can tell, I mean, if you're a psychic or empath like I am, you can tell people are lying. I can always see a bad actor. I can always see, even in acting, I can tell that they're not being who they are. You know, psychically you feel that, but you go along with it or whatever. This kid's legit, and he's got people like Bobby Brown crying on camera over Whitney Houston. And that was the episode that blew me away, by the way, was he was reading Bobby Brown, had no idea who Bobby Brown was, and because he's a young 21-year-old that doesn't care about that age, and he's like totally talking about, he's like, well, this woman's coming through and she's saying that it wasn't a drug overdose, it was her heart, and she's upset about the misconception about that. And I was just like, I was like, you know, like, and Bobby Brown's like, you know, the same way. It's like, but the point is that show, I'm so grateful for whoever the producers are of that show. E! Entertainment to me is crap entertainment. Excuse me, I've never enjoyed the Kardashians or any E! News or anything like that. And everyone knows in Hollywood they pay like shit. If you work for E!, you're being paid like crap. Everyone knows it in the TV industry. But this is the first show that I'm really like, all right. It's like they're really presenting a lot of healing and whatnot. And seeing the story. So he's also a good psychic. Being funny, interesting to see how this kid does. And I think, you know, John Edward came out in the last Saturn Sagittarius, who is a phenomenal medium. And now in this second Sagittarius, we have this young Tyler Henry. So interesting stuff. Love you too, Barbara. Oh, that's cool. Animals talking. Vivid dreams. Caitlin's asking about working towards a dojo. The answer is yes, I do want to work towards a dojo. I think part of the problem I have as a psychic is I see the future, I just don't know how far ahead I'm seeing it. So I'm going to be in a dojo situation. It's going to happen. I have to wait for things to fall into place and see how it's going to happen. But I know all these things are changing now. One of the things I'm feeling regardless is this need to do a Sunday service. I mean, that's what the dojo is. It would be live at the dojo that I do this Sunday service. And that's huge for me because I think when I do Sunday service, it's going to be about God. It's going to be about God, so it's going to be a big deal at that time. So I'm preparing for it. The answer is I do want to do it. I'm waiting to see how the universe unfolds. Yay! Adam Smith is wondering if he should move from the current place he's in. Adam, ask your heart, does your heart want to move from the place you're in? Because if it does, you're meant to. This is North Node in Leo, follow your heart. Okay, so Stanislava Paniva asks about step 22 degrees. Some astrologers say this is a very dangerous degree. Very good question. Step 22 is a powerful step. Actually, a step 22 person probably is dangerous in their youth. Okay, they can be dangerous in the youth, but they're actually not meant to be dangerous. You know, who's calling them dangerous? You know what I mean? So like, if a Jewish girl marries a black guy who's step 22, the Jewish family is going to call him dangerous. You know what I mean? Like, so they're innovators, step 22 people. They're here. That's the Grandmaster step of Uranus. And the way it works is they're able to bring a bunch of feelings together that wouldn't normally be brought together. So step 22 can bring like really weird energies inside themselves together that makes them a very eccentric artist or a very eccentric intellectual or a very brilliant innovator or inventor. Or a lot of times, step 22 people actually are helping big groups of people emotionally come together and find the higher ground. So I see a lot of breakthrough diplomats and people who are on the high diplomatic level have step 22 because they can handle all the feelings of Palestine and all the feelings of Israel, and they can find that emotional common ground between the two emotions. So I think a poorly intentioned step 22 person is dangerous, but step 22 is a master step, and masters know better. Masters know better. You don't see many evil masters, and when you do, it makes you sick because they know better and they're choosing anyways. That's evil. Okay, so very rarely do you see masters who are here to hurt at all. But they may be clumsy, they may be stupid, they may learn their power by accidentally hurting people along the way. That certainly does happen. Okay, so Kathleen Rupert is saying, the story of Born to Live, I feel like I'm still in a thinker or cancer feeler stage. Is there an opportune moment to start the work on it? Should you always be working on it? Kathleen, I think that, first of all, what's working on it really mean? Like, when I have an issue, it's coming up while I'm in the gym. It's coming up when I'm in the shower. Like, I'm always working on it, like, when do you actually take steps to change it? Well, that's something that the 11 Steps to Serious Joy has taught me. There are 8 steps before step 9, really 9 steps if you count step 0. So there are 9 steps before step 9. Step 9 is when we take action. So when we're working on an issue, we're actually working through the steps. Protect, what's my heart, what do I feel, what do I believe, where do I belong, where do I think, what can I open up to, what does God have to say, what are my commitments? And then on step 9, you take action. So a person may not realize that they're an addict until step 9. Like that step 9, they're like, I got to go into treatment. Well, they spent 9 steps drunk, like processing that this isn't going to work for them. And so careful what you judge as work. You probably are always working on it all the time, but you haven't maybe taken like an affirmative action yet because you're not at step 9, you're not ready. Okay. 13 Gemini and Chiron Pisces. Oh yeah, Kimberly McGrath says she has step 13 Chiron and Pisces. Have God issues or just the Word of God? Yeah, that's. I find for those, I have a lot of Chiron and Pisces clients, and I feel that Chiron and Pisces people almost always have been injured in a past life from a religion, and basically you followed the wrong prophet. If Chiron's and Pisces, you probably end up listening to the church or listening to the witch doctor or listening to someone else in a past life, and you got to heaven and you realized you were a jackass. God was like, that wasn't me you were talking to. Okay, like, so you're like, so Chiron's like, oh, I screwed up in spirituality. And so as a result, they're born with a lot of resentment to the church, and almost every Chiron Pisces client I have, had a Christian, had a preacher for a father, or, God forbid, was literally hurt or abused by a church member, but always some sort of childhood story, which is the past life being replanted into the story, having to go through that. But now, here's the thing. You all are coming through your Chiron return now. Chiron's at step 27, 28 of Pisces now, which means your soul should be feeling healed over the core issue. Now, healed means you're now willing to look at it. You're now willing to explore it. You're now willing to see if you were right or wrong. Before it was like, no way, I'm not even going there. Now that you're starting to heal and let go and there's compassion. And I really think that the lesson, most of the time in readings, when I read stories and see people's personal life story, half the time the story is that you're meant to talk to God directly. And I think that's a huge topic we can bring up in another show, but I find it hilarious that the Bible says that God spoke to Moses and God spoke to Adam, like God spoke to all these people. And in the last 2,000 years, God hasn't talked to anybody. He's been radio silent. Like, no one's been on a mountaintop. No one's gotten prophecy. You know what I mean? Like, bullshit. God is not closed for business. You know what I mean? Like, so I think this crop of people who are devout followers in past lives are spiritual leaders now. I think you're here to channel God on your own terms, have your own conversation with God, And I think we're meant to come as a community and be like, what did God tell you? Oh, God, like share, like, because we're all getting to understand creation and what creation is about. Dojo. I would love a dojo. You know what? I look forward to it too. I also, honestly, I'll be very honest, like like all of us have been living, I don't know what your perception is of my wealth, but I just barely get by. Like, I have, because I put it all into spirit, all into the work. Now, as we move forward, like I'm finally going, okay, I need some money now because I want a dojo. I need some money now because I want a car. I need some money now, like universe. I need some money now, like I've gone fine with it. And so one of the things of the dojo is I need money. I need some money to get that together. And so we'll see. That's part of it. We have to build our audience first. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Ooh, that's a good question. Natanya Morales, I think is the name. Forgive me if I screw up you guys' pronunciation. Not my forte. You were named after a planet. I'd always get it right. But she asks, how do I find the courage to live my truth when I feel I will hurt a lot of people? That's very powerful. In fact, I got to tell you, I have been going through that myself in many ways in my life. Like, in fact, the whole, my truth has lately been a lot more about God. I've been worried about upsetting people. Like, I think, how do you find the courage? It's in your heart. I mean, I think you have to have a heart-to-heart with yourself and ask yourself, what's more important to you? Letting yourself down, like that you don't let yourself down, or that you don't let others down? It comes down to you or them. And that's not a dog-eat-dog world, but that's what it comes down to. You've come to live your life. Even if you're a light worker and a light walker, you've come to live your life. You haven't come to live other people's lives. You haven't come to make other people feel good. If you happen to, great, but that's not why you came. You came to be who you are and express what your heart wants and experience your virtual reality in the flesh of some dream you had in heaven. That's why you came. So I'm, to some degree, I'm not a cold person, but a lot of people put a lot of expectation and hope on other people like you because they're not focusing on themselves. So this is a sickness where we're worried about being ourselves because we don't want to let them down, and the only reason why they're let down is because they're not being willing to live their lives and follow their heart. So this is a spiritual epidemic, and what you have to do is have that powwow with yourself and say, God damn it, I can't let myself down. I have to, I'm sorry. And I find that people do understand. When I see the big matrix of, like when I see clients and they bring up a question like this, and I see the father and the mother and blah, 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 and I see the child, the light walker who has to be themselves, I see in all these other charts, this light walker is going to show them. And yes, they're all going to be pissed. And yes, they're going to be unhappy. And yes, they're going to maybe be mad at her. But that's why she came. And that's why they chose her in that situation, because they don't love anyone else to pay attention. The fact that you love family members and people love each other, that's actually why you hold on and learn. When people disappoint us and let us down and we love them, we hold on still, even though they're disappointing us, and we learn. We may not have learned had not someone we love let us down. If someone we don't love lets us down, there's no learning there. So you have a power with yourself to be courageous. Hope that helps. Yeah. Okay, someone's asking, Rachel Peterson's asking, I have a midheaven in Pisces. I've been trying to figure it out. Can you help me clarify what it means in destiny? Midheaven in Pisces means you're here to live for spirit, period. Like, you're on a spiritual journey, and that's what it, period. Like, nothing else matters but your spiritual journey. By spiritual journey, that actually means in yourself, you live in your spirit, not in your ego, not in your mind, not in your emotions, but in your self-forgiveness, in your self-compassion. If you want to know how to be holy, okay, treat yourself like the angels would treat you. When you treat yourself like God would treat you, when you treat yourself like you imagine the angels would treat you, you are now acting like the angels. You are now on their level. Okay, so someone with North Node in Pisces, my advice is treat yourself as holy, treat yourself as sacred in every decision, in every expression of life, and you will find that's where to go. Did you say North Node or Midheaven? Either way, Midheaven's you're working towards a spiritual life. North Node is you need to live it now. Let's see here. Ooh, Chiron and Aries, says Amanda Yeats. Yeah, Chiron and Aries, I'll just say, and this comes from, I'm not projecting because it's my story too, Chiron and Aries. A lot of Chiron and Aries come from the Crusader age. So Chiron and Aries are people who killed in the name of Christ, who went to spiritual warfare, who burned their bodies as Buddhists on the street. You know, like Chiron and Aries people took their values too far in a past life, and so now they're concerned that they'll go too far and not far enough. So it's interesting. So Yamil, I'm not sure what Yamil is asking here. He's saying he doesn't have his actual time of birth. You know, when I have readings and people don't have their actual time of birth, I intuitively usually can find it. My guides will literally tell me the time. If we can narrow it down into the morning, my guides will just be like 11:45, and I'll be like, oh, just try this. like, holy shit, this really feels like the residence. So I've gotten a lot of times exactly, but we can almost always nail it down. The great thing about the step approach of step astrology that I've learned is the step numbers of all your planets don't change by the minute. So 98% of your chart is visible to me because I know your step number and I know what you're going on in each thing. What house it falls into is not always necessary. Where to start a new path as a light walker? I don't know. Jamar, paths start anywhere. I know people who, Nikki Brightfeller Ullman, I don't know if you guys know her. She's one of my good friends. She actually lives in the Denver area. She also does daily shows. She's posted in our club a few times. One of the things I love about Nikki, she's as spiritual as it gets. She's like my soul sister to the deepest chord, man. She, like, when she was in her 20s, shaved her head, moved to India, and practiced under Amma. So she, like, studied under Amma, literally, like, washing dishes and stuff for the Amma tribe. And, like, so people, and that's how she kind of, like, earned her spiritual wings. So, it doesn't have to be extreme like that, but your journey starts as soon as you decide for it to start. You go down to a local temple and meet somebody, and as soon as your heart asks, the journey begins. As soon as your heart asks, the journey begins. Okay, I saw somebody, all right, and I saw somebody bring up the cards, and I'm actually going to wrap this up here in just a couple minutes. Oh, I'm glad, Cindy, I love you too. But I'm actually, I'm going to pull a card. This was a gift. I got some Archangel Oracle cards from a dear friend. And I actually pretty much don't buy my own tarot cards. I wait for the universe to give them to me because that's kind of how it works. My mom's a daily tarot card reader, though. Like, growing up, she was like, oh, this doesn't look good. You're staying in this weekend. Like what? You're like, what's that about, Mom? Here, it's just the cards. Like, you're in the tower. Don't shit. She'd get into me. My guides are saying this is it. So I always ask my guides, when we stop? So I'm pulling a card for the group here and for the week. These are Archangel cards. Sensitivity. Oh, this is just definitely the card. You are extra sensitive to energies and emotions right now. Honor yourself and your feelings. Sensitivity. Do-do-do-do-do. Beautiful card. So true. And this is a great way to kind of wrap up our show, because I'm not going to be on the air next week. Again, I remind you, sign up for my service just for $4, and you'll totally have your astro covered for the whole month for that price. You don't have to stay on month to month if you don't want to, but give it a try. But next week, I will not be on the air, and next week will be a sensitive week. It really will. This card is absolutely true. You know, next week, and this is the wisdom I want to leave you with, since I won't be here, the way you respond to yourself in the upcoming week, the way you respond to yourself is the change. The change is not that you score the touchdown, that you get that final call into that. None of that is the change. We all think the change is outside of ourselves. No, it's not. And with emotion, change comes from your own response to yourself. So you get really sad about someone that you miss. Well, how are you going to respond to that sadness? Are you going to respond by giving in to more sadness? Are you going to respond by lifting your chin up, going for a walk, having some watermelon, going out in the sprinklers and playing? What is your response? So you change the game when you change the response to yourself. That's when things actually change. And we all know this because sometimes, you know, we feel this change organically and authentically. It's not a conscious decision. It's like, you know, he yelled at me and for some reason I just didn't give a shit this time. Like, so people do change inside and they do respond differently because things kind of nudge them there. But if you want to proactively learn and go forward, how you respond to yourself, if you consciously next week deliberately respond to yourself as an agent of light, respond to yourself as a sacred creature, respond to yourself as holy, respond to yourself non-judgmental, like it's okay, Christopher, you can screw up 1,000,000 times because I love you. We came here to be ourselves. Being hard on ourselves is not going to help. So respond differently all next week, because next week we're basically building the emotional fabric that we're going to go out onto the playing field with. Once the sun goes into Leo, we have a lunar eclipse, which is going to be a little pinprick. It's going to hurt. Something's going to pinch us. I'll be talking about that when I come back from my little vacay next week, which means our heart is going to have to out whatever it's hurting over. So we have one more thing of like looking at something our heart is hurting over. And then as we move into late stages and we have the Great American Solar Eclipse, boom, our hearts light up and we move forward. So this, you know, the next big game is going for what our heart wants. This week, you are practicing how to respond to yourself. If you drop the football, are you going to be mad at yourself? Are you going to be supportive of yourself? If you say the wrong thing, are you going to beat yourself up? Or are you going to support yourself? And if nothing else, if you don't know what the heck to do in your life, try something new. Try something new. So you may not know the right response, just don't do the old response, okay? Don't do the old. Do something new. I usually yell at myself, this time I got some ice cream. Okay. Ice cream may lead to, you know, obesity too much, but this time, thank God, it wasn't you being mean to yourself, and that's when you change your cycle, right there in that response. So respond differently this week, my friends. All right. Oh, thank you, Deb. I love you too. I don't want anyone in Denver area to be upset that I'm not there right now. My home and family is there, and I'll be back and forth a lot. I'm just getting my bearings, so don't worry. In fact, I have another thing I'm doing that's starting there too. So I just needed to be here because North Node's in Leo, and I need to be in my heart, and I need to be shining and happy. And considering I'm happy for a living, like seriously happy for a living, I need to make sure I have all the things that make me happy. And this is not a time to sacrifice, friend. This is a time to invest in your heart right now while it counts. All right. Well, friends, I love you so much. I'm so grateful for you. Remember, I will be off the air next week, but I will be fully up 100% in my personal app, SeriousJoy.com, if you're interested in that. And I will be back the week after. And when we come back to Friday Live 2 weeks from today, we will have show and tell. In fact, if you have something you want to show and tell, okay, probably be a good idea to email us and let us know. Email us at support@seriousjoy.com, support@seriousjoy.com. Troy will let me know who has something to show and tell, and we will invite you in, and we'll bring you on camera, and we'll start to get this community going. Don't forget also that I am doing a Serious Joy selfie contest. Show us a picture of you in Serious Joy. Post it into the group. Everyone, like the ones that you like. Don't be bashful. It's okay if you vote on 100. We really want to encourage the people's light. We want to amp up this light. and the winner will win 3 months of Serious Joy, or if you're a subscriber, an hour free reading with me. And I'll be having a contest probably every week just to keep us all kind of in the light and moving forward. I hope you all have a wonderful 4th of July. Happy birthday to the United States of America. The United States was built on good intentions, and we can follow through with those good intentions. So I am a full believer that this country is meant to be an example and a melting pot and really us working out as an earth. How do we come together? The United States is a microcosm of like, how do we do this? How do we live side by side? How do we live with our differences? So despite the changes coming up in the United States, I'm grateful. I love the 4th of July. It's one of my favorite holidays. I love fireworks. Brings the kid out of me. So have a great 4th of July if you're out there. All right, friends. Remember, until next time, that I love you and to live, love, be.